Hey guys, it's Meg from the Fairy Wonderland Cafe, and I'm back here with you today. We're going to talk about The Crown of Midnight, which is the second book in the Throne of Glass series. I have my guest. This is my daughter, Aubrey.
Hi.
Hi. And I thought that we could have a discussion in regards to what we thought about the book individually and discuss it together, especially because Aubrey refuses to read past this book in the series. Would you like to tell us why? So give us your opinion.
I didn't like how it ended. Okay. It just, I didn't understand the whole, how do you say it? Selena?
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand how she got mad at Kale. Like, I get that it needed, the severing of the ties needed to happen or whatever. But I don't agree with it. I just...
So what part is it that you don't agree with?
Like how she blamed the whole thing on him. Yeah, I know he chose the king over her or whatever, but he wasn't thinking about it in that moment. He wasn't purposefully hiding it from her.
Yes, he was.
It wasn't.
Yes.
No.
Because he actually knew the information for at least a week before Nehemia got herself slaughtered. So
yes, but he says he didn't think about bringing it up. He just didn't.
No, he remembered because the author was very, very specific about the part where I believe it's the king, or I can't remember who specifically gave the information to Kale about the fact that there was some sort of threat to Nehemia, and that's when he should have told Selena, in Selena's opinion, especially because of the fact that from where Selena was coming from, one, Selena was an assassin, and she could have ensured that Nehemia was protected, period, end of story. And two, Kale knew how much Nehemia meant to her, and so the fact that he didn't trust her enough with that type of secret, especially for how much Nehemia meant to her, and knowing that the king did not like Nehemia, the fact that is where it destroyed everything, is that because when it came down to it, he didn't trust her. And that's, I think that's what the ultimate thing is that severed their relationship. So, but like I said, I loved the book. You loved the book, right?
I loved the writing. I just didn't love what happened.
Yeah. And so, what was your overall opinion of the book?
It was a good book. I mean, it was good writing. I just don't like the events that occurred.
You don't like the events that occurred?
I didn't like the events that occurred in the book.
So how did you feel about Selena throughout the book?
I think she really grew as the story continued, not just physically, but
what was that?
physically.
Okay.
How her whole relationship was cool with Kale. It was even though it was emotional as well, it was also more physical too than her past past relationships.
Yep.
And so she actually gave herself in a way that was more mature and different than a way that she had before.
You're talking in reference to Sam?
Yeah.
So prior to her going to Endovier in the salt mines, so before the story opens in Throne of Glass, the relationship that she had with the other assassin, Sam, you're saying this is a much more mature relationship now, this one that she has with Kale. Okay. What do you think, how do you feel, I know you said she matures physically, but what do you mean as far as like her maturing? Are you talking emotionally?
I mean, she's very young, obviously. I think she's like, what, 17?
She's 18.
18, 17, 18. But she's really young, and obviously being an assassin, she had to basically mature more mentally than she had to do physically, because the type of mental preparedness that you need to have for the type of stuff that she has to do is obviously going to be very advanced and rigorous. That's why it was amazing, the fact that she was so young and she did the stuff that she did. So obviously I don't think she could have matured much more emotionally. Obviously she was able to like gain more like emotional connections with people as far as like, you know, like friendship and love and stuff, but as far as like the other emotions, like
so let me ask you this question, because you're saying that she's already more mature, but I feel like she's stunted because of the fact that she takes risks with herself and puts herself in danger almost to the point where she flaunts death. She's extremely reckless when she's especially when her temper and her anger is involved. So she tends to go overboard, and that for me, like, I don't see that changing, and I feel that's almost like a stunted growth. Do you kind of feel like that might be foreshadowing in regards to her character?
Like foreshadowing as far as what? Like what is it supposed to
So foreshadowing within the series, because you've completely finished the book, right? So we find out at the end of The Crown of Midnight that she is the heir of the Terrasen Kingdom. Well, it's not that we find out, we get confirmation because there's little seeds dropped from the first and the second book, but we get actual confirmation that she is in fact Aelin Galanthinus. And so I'm asking because she has no desire, like she is not willing to acknowledge that name, and it's only at the very end of the book that she actually, you know, says, yes, this is who I am. Because prior to that, throughout the whole book, and even in The Throne of Glass, she's like, no. So I'm wondering, what do you think?
Probably. I mean, she did have to bury a lot of those like emotions and stuff deep within herself, basically, because you know, in her whole safety and everything that she not get figured out, and it's probably why she had to go into the Assassin's Creed. So, Assassin's Guild.
Keep. Yes, Guild and Keep. Yes.
So I think that's why she had to go. She also had to learn how to protect herself and be on her own, because no one was going to do it for her, because no one knew what happened to the alien side of her. So.
Yeah. So then let me ask you this, because I know Nehemiah was a very like big character, and I feel very strongly about Nehemiah, and you feel very strongly about Nehemiah. What does Nehemiah mean to you as, like, when you were reading the story?
I think she was like I mean, this guy's not bad. I think she was a really nice supporting character. I mean, she really did teach Selena how to, you know, after she's been in the mines and she's been like so closed off for all of her life, not letting anybody like inside like at all. So I think that she was very helpful to like, you know what I mean? Because
she helped open Selena up.
yeah, and after being obviously it definitely would help her down the line of the whole, you know, if she assumes that her position as like the head, the heir of the throne or whatever, is obviously going to help her because with all that stuff built up, there's no way she could just
break all of those chains.
Because how she's supposed to like keep ties with other kingdoms and stuff like that, she just can't even trust anyone. So I definitely think that Nehemiah was someone who not knew about her past, but like she definitely had like some suspicion or whatever, and she knew that she knew that she was going to have to be essential to like obviously there's going to be revolution down the line, but she knew she's going to have to be essential, and to do that she has to build up the fact that she has to trust people. She can't always be disbelieving and
guarded and closed off.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you think that Selena would have progressed in becoming the Aelin that she needed to be if what happened to Nehemiah had not happened?
I mean, probably not. As much as I don't like it and the fact that Nehemiah died, I mean, it's what finally forced her to stop messing around, basically. And she just finally got down to it and was like, I can't be messing around anymore. And she basically was like, there's nothing really for me here anymore. And she went to where she could basically do what she needed to do to actually try and save her or like start the revolution or whatever.
To come to terms with who she is.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you feel about her revealing to Kale that she is Aelin?
I mean, obviously even though he didn't reveal, like, he didn't trust her when it came down to it, it obviously showed that no matter what, she still trusts him. And she knows that even though he messed up, and she knows he messed up, she can still trust him. And she knows he's going to need his help further down the line, and that she's always going to rely on him and stuff like that. Basically created a bond between them.
So then let me ask you this question, because how would you feel if I told you that Nehemiah basically set up her own, like if Nehemiah like set it up that she would die to force Selena into becoming Aelin?
Dun, dun, dun. Well, obviously that's how all these things work, is that obviously there's no way Nehemiah would actually die. Because she might have died. If she really did die, then it's not really beneficial to the revolution, because she has to become this person or whatever, but it's kind of hard for, like, she's not the only person in the revolution. She's like very essential and is gonna like basically finish what everybody else has started, but it's not gonna be that worth it to have just like actually killed her, you know what I mean? And so like I feel they wouldn't have like had her die for real, because she was still an essential part of the revolution.
Well, but what I'm saying is that like she was the one she was the one who was actually pulling the strings and giving the misinformation, knowing that it would lead to her death, knowing that when Selena found out that it would force Selena into becoming Aelin.
Sorry, what?
So I'm saying, how would you feel about Nehemiah if you found out that Nehemiah was basically the puppet master and she had fed the information setting up for herself to be murdered, to sacrifice herself, because she knew that once she sacrificed herself that it would force Selena into becoming Aelin.
I mean, she seems like the kind of like knowledgeable person who would do that, and I mean, I wouldn't feel like. I mean, obviously, Selena would feel a little like mistrust.
Mm-hmm.
That's obviously why she wouldn't have told Selena in the first place,
Mm-hmm.
because the whole thing was like she has to build up her trust in other people again, and like she can't really do that if obviously Selena's not going to just go let her kill herself so she can become this whole other person, because Selena doesn't know like anybody else knows. She's just kind of keeping it like a secret part of herself.
Right, and she doesn't want to let anybody else know.
She doesn't want to acknowledge that part of herself.
Right.
I mean, what happened to her was obviously a terrible tragedy, so she's not going to, and like it happened so young, so she's not going to want to dig that up deep, especially at the time where she is in a very vulnerable part where she doesn't have a lot of people she can trust. She's not in a really safe space because she knows that, you know, if she's caught slipping up by the king, then she's going to get killed.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously she didn't want to die.
Mm-hmm.
So she's obviously going to have to figure out how to do all of these things but still stay safe. And there was no way she was going to be able to just pull all these strings in front of the king and just have him be absolutely clueless, because let's face it, he's not exactly the nicest person, but he's not also dumb.
Very true. Yes, the king's not dumb.
And so he's got his hands in everybody's business, so he would have found out one way or another.
Do you think that one of the other reasons that the author had to break Selena and Kale up in the relationship, do you think it might be because that Kale doesn't accept the Fae part of her?
I mean, I don't think that he doesn't